Ever wondered what a place like this, beautiful, will look like in just a few years? Yes, this is how it looks, polluted and unbreathable. Why this happened? Let's see.
Have you ever stopped to think about what actually happens after you throw something away? I mean, where does it go? In India, that simple question kicks off a huge story. It's a story about literal mountains of waste, for sure, but it's also about some incredible innovation and opportunity. So we're going to dive into how the country is trying to turn one of its biggest challenges into a seriously valuable resource.
Okay, let's start with a number, 160,000. That's how many tons of municipal waste India generates every single day. To give you an idea of how massive that is, it's like the weight of over 25,000 elephants daily. The scale is just staggering. And believe me, it's only growing.
Right, so what does happen to it all? That's really the big question we're going to unpack here. To really get the solutions, you've got to understand the problem first. It's really kind of a perfect storm. You've got more and more people moving to cities. We're all buying and consuming more, which means we're throwing away more. Then you add in the explosion of single-use plastics, for convenience, and this ever-growing pile of old phones, laptops, and all sorts of e-waste. Suddenly, you have a waste stream that isn't just bigger, it's a whole lot more complicated to deal with. Okay, so to tackle this beast, we've got to look inside the bin. If you want to solve a puzzle, you have to know what all of the pieces are, right? It's the exact same idea with waste. Figuring out what we're actually throwing away is the number one most crucial step to management. And check this out, because this chart reveals a massive, massive opportunity. Over half of our waste, a full 55%, is organic stuff like food scraps. Another 30% is dry recyclables. Think paper, plastic, glass. You do the math. That's a whopping 85% of what we call trash that isn't really trash at all. And this slide right here, this explains everything. It's the tale of two bins. When you mix your wet food scraps with your dry recyclables, you contaminate the whole lot. The paper gets soggy, the plastics get gross, and the whole thing becomes this low-value mess that's just headed for landfill. But when you separate them right at the source, in your kitchen, you keep the value. The food waste can become compost, and the dry stuff can be recycled into brand new products. So listen, if you remember just one thing from all this, make it this. Source segregation is everything. It is the golden key. It's what transforms waste from a problem that pollutes our land and water into an asset that can actually fuel a new economy. But who's actually doing all this work of turning waste into value? Well, for decades, India's recycling system has been propped up by a massive and often invisible workforce. Honestly, these folks are the true pioneers of recycling in the country. Get this, the estimates suggest that somewhere between 1.5 to 4 million people work in India's informal recycling economy. I mean, that's a population bigger than many cities, all dedicated to collecting, sorting, and reclaiming materials that the rest of us just throw away. So we're talking about the waste pickers, the kabadiwalas. They really are the backbone of the entire system. They're providing this vital environmental service, but they're often working in really dangerous conditions with no formal recognition, no safety gear, no social security. They are essentially giving our cities a huge subsidy with their hard work. And here's where it gets brilliant. When cities formally recognize and integrate these workers, it is a win for everybody. The source material points to the Swatch Cooperative in Pune as a perfect example. When you give waste pickers formal contracts and fair pay, recycling rates shoot up, the quality of materials gets better. Across India, there are cities that are proving that a zero-waste future is totally possible. They've stopped just talking about the problem and are actively solving it, giving everyone else a blueprint to follow. Just take a look at this. You've got Indore, which hit a mind-blowing 100% segregation rate through strict rules and getting citizens involved. Pune, like we just talked about, hit 85% by empowering its informal workers. And then there's Ambikapur, a smaller city that built this incredible community-led model. What this proves is that there's no single magic bullet. These cities prove, without a doubt, that when you have strong political will, smart policies, and you get the community on board, a future without giant landfills is